Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha Margaritis, host of The Village Docklands. Thank you so much for joining us today. We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today and pay our respects to the elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Now, this is our first webinar aimed at helping our customers gain insights into innovative digital marketing that really helps you adapt to the current COVID climate. Now, to give you an understanding of our session today, we're going to be discussing the key barriers small to medium enterprises are facing in digital marketing. I'll also be throwing some curveball questions to our guest speaker, Mellonie Francis, to gather her insights on the subject. So before we get started, however, the discussion and the presentation will go for about 35 minutes. So I'd like to introduce you to my fellow host of the Village, Liz Grant, whose background is very much in the digital space, and we share a great love for it as well. Hey, Liz, how are you going?
Hi, Natasha. I'm going really well today. How are you?
Very good. I'm so pumped. I think we all are. For bringing this kind of value to our customers. So it's going to be great. And I hope everyone who's tuning in is also ready for the ride. So as we go along, right, please type any question you have into the Q&A chat box down the bottom of the webinar window. And Liz will gather your questions and facilitate a wonderful 15-minute Q&A session with Mellonie so she can answer them for you. So I'm sure this is a question on your minds. Will you be getting a copy of the presentation? Yes, we'll email you a copy of this presentation in the next few days. So let's get started. Alrighty, so before we really get into Mellonie's background, with the new COVID world that we're actually living in right now, digital marketing has definitely become a hot topic. So much so that there is about 250% increase in search results in Google for digital marketing across Australia. And that's why we've decided that our first guest speaker should be Mellonie Francis. She's the owner of a boutique digital marketing agency, Rario, and we're really proud to say that she's also a NAB business customer. Hey Mel, it is so good to have you on board. How are you going?
Good, thank you. It's great to be here, Natasha, and to talk about digital marketing to other business banking customers and be able to bring value to all the other business owners who are really struggling with this. I'm really excited to share some really cool stuff that's happening in the digital marketing world with you today.
Absolutely. And just to give everyone a bit of an insight into why we felt Mellonie was a perfect fit to speak on this subject is because there's so many marketing agencies that offer digital marketing strategies, no doubt, and some amazing ones out there. What really interested us about Mellonie was how she really thinks beyond Facebook ads and Google ads or LinkedIn ads, really. She thinks about ways to use these channels together with email marketing, in collaboration with webinars to really create more of a holistic approach to a marketing solution, which gets one to think right outside the box, be truly innovative and interesting in our approach. So on that note, Mellonie, I'm sure everyone's like, okay, let's get started. How do you view the changes to the digital marketing landscape right now since the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, what a great question. What's really interesting was previous to the pandemic, there was a lot of businesses that were doing business physically. There would be a touch point of having a coffee or having a meetup or going to an event to generate business. But now with the pandemic, it's drastically fastened up the digital marketing uptake. Previous people were looking at digital marketing and thinking, yes, I'll get to that. But what happened with the pandemic is there was no choice left but to adopt digital marketing really quick pro. So what I'm seeing is there was this kind of, in March, everyone was like, I don't know what to do. What's just happened? Let's stop everything. Let's stop spending. And in the last sort of 2 months, people have gone, well, I can't go to events anymore to generate business. I can't have those meetups face to face that I once was. how am I going to market? And digital marketing has become the most hottest way to, like, get in front of your clients and start actually adding value and transitioning from having coffees to now transitioning to this new digital way. And the digital marketing is the way to sort of have those coffees in a very different way, which I'll be sharing with you. So yeah, completely different market. And as you said, everyone wants in on digital marketing. So we're seeing this uptick every month, 200% month-on-month increase for digital marketing services.
I love that analogy. The use of, taking those coffee catch-ups online into a digital savvy landscape, which has changed drastically now through COVID. So speaking of which, Mellonie, I'm sure since we already touched on Facebook and Google and LinkedIn earlier, I guess what everyone really wants to know is how would a business owner navigate through deciding whether to go with, Facebook ads, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, or YouTube ads? There's so many options out there, and it's very hard to decipher which channel to go for that's suited for your business. So how would one do that?
Absolutely. Like, that's a question that I think everyone wants answered. And I've prepared some slides in anticipation that you may ask me that question. So let me just share my screen and help you decipher how to make that. So the question, I guess, here is, so how would a business owner navigate through deciding whether they should go and invest into Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or even YouTube for that matter? So when it comes to deciding whether you want to invest into Google or not, what you need to consider is evidence that people are going to Google and actually typing in a particular keyword at least 1,000 to 500 times a month, so that you know that there's statistics there as to why you should go and invest into Google from a paid perspective and even from an organic perspective. So before you go and decide that I need to go and invest into Google, you really need to understand, is there people doing searches on a keyword that is in your niche? So for example, for me, I know there is 1,000 search volume per month for the keyword digital marketing agencies, Sydney. That straight away lets me know that Google is definitely a place that I need to be investing into, because I want to come up and I want to rank for that. And in the same way, businesses and business owners need to know that there is search results for them before they invest. Second thing about Google, before you spend there, you really need to make sure you have the stomach for Google. So even once you've gone, okay, there's 1,000 search volume for my keyword, you need to know how much each of those clicks are going to cost you for you to get those searches onto your website. Sometimes it costs $95 per click to $4 a click, but $95 can be quite high if you add up $95 times 1,000 clicks. So for me, you have to really be making sure that you've got the deep enough pockets to stomach Google. The third way to know that whether you should be investing in Google is you can see if your competitors are taking position. If your competitors are taking positions in Google consistently, not just 1 month, but consistently, there's obviously a return there. People are not just spending there because there's nothing there. So that's another way to know that, yes, I should be having a position in Google. And in Google, I will say that there is that paid position which you pay to appear on top. And then there's this other thing called organic, where after all the paid ads, there's sections that you can rank on. And in order to actually rank organically, that's also a really big patient game. It can take 6 to 9 months to even 2 years to even appear at anywhere near the top. And again, you've got to have the stomach and the patience and the budget to really, be in here and playing as a key player in Google. So there's some of the things that you should be considering if Google is the right platform for you. When it comes to something like Facebook or Instagram, for example, it's not keyword driven. That's not what you're looking for. In Google, you're looking, is there keywords that are coming up? But here in Facebook and Instagram, what you need to understand is, what is the people that I'm targeting? You need to have data about them so you can actually use Facebook and Instagram in a way that's going to actually give you a return on investment. So when I say that, you need to know about the age group of the people that you might be targeting. You need to have a good idea about the job title. You need to understand what kind of things they could be interested in. You might even know if they're a high income earner or mid income earner or low income earner. Facebook allows you to use these kind of data sets to actually serve your ads too. So if you don't understand these kind of data points of the customers you're targeting, you're really not going to have much success in Facebook. So really important to understand that. Another thing about Facebook is it's really for people with 36 and above age group. That's the people that you find that are still on Facebook. If your age group is below 36, you're probably looking at Instagram. That's where they're spending a lot more of their time. So see how specifically you have to know your data set in order to have success in this. If you don't have this data, again, you won't have success. Another really great way to have success on Facebook and Instagram is if you've actually got 1,000 personal emails, and you can actually tell Facebook, here are all the clients that have bought from me, here's 1,000 emails, and you can actually ask Facebook will create a lookalike audience taking up on all those emails and creating you more audience. So once you get to that 1,000 or more emails of people that have purchased from you, you have the data to really take advantage of Facebook and Instagram. Now, LinkedIn, which is one of my favorite platforms, similar to Facebook, again, you have to have really good understanding of data. And now you have to have really good understanding of data from a professional perspective. So how many years have they spent on a particular industry? What is their job title? So similar to Facebook, LinkedIn job title is far more accurate because we invest to make sure our job title is really up to date on LinkedIn as opposed to really caring what is on our Facebook. So here you're getting more better if you really know that person's job title, you know their industry, you know that they've been in the industry for maybe 10 years. So you can really focus on a professional understanding and target by profession. So if you know a lot of data about profession and that person, here, this is the market that you can, this is the platform you can use to really get your market to know about your product. LinkedIn is new. It's not as mature as Facebook. It's still providing you with huge amounts of organic reach. Whereas Facebook and Instagram, you have to pay for those positions. You really can't get the same kind of reach that you can on LinkedIn. So this is why this platform right now is a winning platform. And I'm sure it won't be there for long, and the next thing will be TikTok and everything else, but LinkedIn presents a huge opportunity in terms of just organic reach. My final platform that is becoming a really hot topic is YouTube. Should I invest into YouTube or should I not? And business owners want to do all of it. You know, I want to do LinkedIn, Facebook. You have to think with YouTube, the only time you could and would put money into this platform is because you really understand your client so well. You know what they're consuming on YouTube, you know which influencers they're watching, and you can then place ads within those ads that they're within the videos that they're actually consuming. So again, you really have to understand who they're following, who they're watching, and then be able to strategically place ads there. If you don't know what kind of videos they're consuming on YouTube, there's really no point for you to invest into YouTube. I hope, Natasha, that kind of gives you a nice brief of whether and when to invest into which platforms.
Absolutely, Mel. That was, you know, quite a full circle of all those different channels, and gives us a great understanding of really how to make those informed decisions before we invest in these channels that are based on how it's suited for our needs and our targets and our goals. Now, I'm sure everyone's asking themselves whether they have the stomach for Google Ads now, given, you know, the expense of that platform and that channel. And also what I really picked up was from what you were saying was the clarity around the demographic, knowing your customers. And, you know, really understanding, like you said, so, you know, rightly, is that data points about your customers, and really making sure that when you invest in Facebook, that you're actually investing in a high success rate. And such powerful tools around really understanding, you know, age as a target market. So my bias is definitely towards LinkedIn. I'm just going to own that, given that it's not been commercialized right now, you know. the fact that it's organic. Everyone loves organic. It's safe to say everyone watching right now would say the same as well. Also the fact that, you get to choose between professionals and business owners, and specifically narrow that down is pretty amazing. And you also touched on really YouTube ads, understanding the customers again with the videos that they're consuming. Really, really useful items there. So just to dig a little bit deeper, Mellonie, now, if let's say I hypothetically decided that Facebook was the right channel to go for my business, right? I think a key question we all always ask ourselves is results. Will I start seeing results immediately?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Right. I mean, a lot of people expect that they're going to get results immediately. As soon as they drop $10 into Facebook, you're all of a sudden going to see $100 back in your pocket. And that is the assumption. And I want to take you to a reality check here is really, do you buy from someone that you've met once for coffee? Or does it take you about 4 to 5 coffees to convert that person? And I think you all know that it takes multiple touch points in order to actually get that. So let me share like sort of my screen to really demonstrate what I mean is, should you start seeing results on Facebook? What happens in the real world of business, whether it is physical or whether it is online, you need to create multiple touch points, multiple coffee meetups, multiple events, multiple calls before you actually get the sale. So in the real world of, say, you and me meet up for a coffee and we talk about my digital marketing services. It's a first meetup. I get your information. I might get your email. I might get your phone number. And then I might hit you up again and say, can I have a second coffee, right? And a third coffee or a fourth coffee or fifth coffee. It depends how big the sale is, as how many touch points I have to create. So if I was trying to sell you something for $200, maybe I only need like 2 or 3 coffees, but if I was trying to sell you something for $5,000, I might need 12 coffees before you become convinced that, yes, that's enough. Before I convert you. In the same way in digital marketing, because what we're doing is, because we can't have coffees anymore, we're now translating that coffee into a digital online environment. What will happen is I will serve you a Google ad, okay, and you'll see it and you'll come in. I will try to obtain your details so I can set up my second coffee or my second email to you in this case. So you see how coffee has become an email in this instance now, and I will send you a few emails seeing how you are, seeing how you're traveling with your buying decision. I might show you another ad after I've got your email. I might retarget you on Facebook and show you my services again. And finally, maybe I will create multiple touch points until I convert you. So I've just, instead of doing it as a coffee, I've now just turned it into email, turned it into another ad, and then I've converted you. So really, you can't expect the Facebook one ad is going to ever convert. One ad, you just can't have that expectation, just like you don't have the expectation when you have one coffee that someone's going to be able to buy from you from that one touch point.
Absolutely, Mel. From what I'm hearing, it's all about the relationships 101, where, if you wouldn't expect a relationship, to be like, built overnight, when it's face-to-face, then it's the same expectation online through digital marketing as well. The realistic aspect of how trust is built over time and across various touch points. If you meet someone for the first time at a networking event, you wouldn't start hard selling them straight away, would you? So it's the same principle, and I love that it's adaptable to digital as well. And I'm sure a lot of people who've ever done a sale for their business would definitely relate to that one. So if we were to look at these touch points more closely, how would we create them? Could you give us a bit of an example just to help us out a little bit?
Sure, let me share an example with you on how we created a multi-channel digital marketing approach for one of our clients. And I'll walk you through how we created those so you can actually really get an understanding. So we have a client, AMRC, which is an education provider, used to provide physical education, but now obviously only online, that they've been hit by COVID. So they were like, oh my God, what do we do now? We've been used to referrals and there's no more students coming in. So they approached us to set up a Facebook ad and start marketing. We knew as soon as they approached us that just one Facebook ad is never going to cut it and get them to start selling $3,000 to $5,000 courses from one Facebook ad. So what we did is we set up a multiple channel. So we did a Facebook ad, which invited them to a free webinar. Then we followed up with an email inviting them to get on a one-on-one phone call. And if they attended the phone call, they get $500 off the course. And then we employed a sales team, a high ticket closing sales team that closed the transaction for them. And when they did close, they would get a 20% commission on close. So let me walk you through that process. So here was the Facebook ad, and we tested a number of Facebook ideas and creatives before we arrived that this was the Facebook ad that did well. So it was inviting someone to come on a Zoom call, Zoom webinar, where they would get help on how they can become a doctor in Australia from an international student who was coming in here, and what would that be for them and what is the environment like. So we really set up this really cool webinar. Everyone came to the webinar. We had about 150 attendees every time that we promoted this on Facebook. We spent only around $50 to $100 and got that many attendees, and that means we got that many emails. It's a really big success to get that kind of attendance on such a small budget, but we spent a lot of budget to find out what that bullseye marketing strategy was for this client. So it wasn't just one day we woke up and we had, 150 people every week turning up. There was lots of testing done to find this. So they'd all attend this 45-minute value-adding webinar where they'd get their second touch point. After the webinar would finish, they would receive an email to ask them whether they would like to have a one-on-one phone call where they could book in a course and also ask any advice that they might have had, a Q&A above. And by getting on this call, they'll also receive $500 off any course that they choose. So then again, we're building the third touch point, which is an email right there. Then what we did is those people that did book in a call would talk to someone called a high ticket closer who are really good at closing deals, and there's a team of them that we have that talk to them, convince and close that sale, and they only get paid upon actually closing the transaction. So they're very motivated to close, and if that means they need to call a second time, they will. So if you can see, we've actually created already 4 to 5 touch points to get a transaction to work, and it wasn't just the one Facebook ad. There was multiple actual creation there of touch points to actually get the sale. So that's the example for you. And I hope that kind of makes a bit more sense on how we do multiple touch point digital marketing. Oh, you're on mute.
It definitely shines light on the different stages that you would take a prospective customer down, and the way we would lead them to the final stage, the journey process. Now, that was really, really, really cool to see. Would there be a difference between these 4 stages and, let's say, if we adapted to Google Ads as a chosen channel for a business? Would that journey be different?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a little bit of a different strategy. I'll take you through one that we've done with Google Ads so that you can have a look at what we would focus on there. So now the question is about the Google Ads and how the journey would be different. So what you do is you'd have your Google ad, and here, once they click on your Google ad, the importance right now is having a really strong landing page that they land onto, which makes them understand that you're a specialist in that field. So for me, for example, LinkedIn marketing is something that I'm really focused on. I've created a LinkedIn marketing landing page. So when they land, they go, oh, wow, they're a LinkedIn marketing digital agency. And they land there and they feel like this is the person that really understands LinkedIn. So really important where you land them, and you don't land them onto a home page. Next thing is that once they land and they're halfway through the site after they've gone from a Google ad to my page, they start getting these kind of little pop-ups that say, hey, do you want to actually download a free ebook which shows you how you can use LinkedIn to grow your sales. So you get this, and it's only halfway through. It's not at the top. It's not a hard selling. It's kind of a really natural flow. As they're reading, a little pop-up happens. And when they press on that, they will land on something like this. And I'm trying to collect their first name and email so I can create my multiple touch points. I also try and give them other ways to communicate, like a little live chat function as well. So if they want to ask anything, there's another touch point that I can create. So I'm just really focused on creating that touch point rather than actually trying to do a hard sell to them. Once I have got their emails, I then start the email sequence that I had done with the previous client as well and try and get them on a call. So this is my third touch point at this point. And then again, I have got a call going on after that, like the high ticket closer. So I've created multiple touch points. And this final slide I wanted to show you was, you can see how I'm using Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube to create that first touch point. But all I'm focused on is, how am I going to get to my second touch point? How am I going to collect data from my primary funnel, which is using Google or Facebook, but how do I create a second touch point for free using email sequence, or using a call or a high ticket closer, or using maybe a retargeting ad? And I can only do that if I can collect an email point, or if I can collect data from my primary funnel. Can I then decrease my cost on my second touch point? So that's where I'm focused on in terms of multi-channel. And you can see how the journey is different a little bit in Google, and the focus is on a really strong landing page, a pop-up, as opposed to what it was in Facebook.
Wow, that really gives us an insight into, I guess, the stage 1 goal and then the stage 2 goal, that the whole reason why you would focus so heavily on choosing those channels, whether it's Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, or YouTube, is so that you could take them to the next stage by collecting their data and then having that secondary, funnel touch point, and then seeing whether, they close or whether they need to go into retargeting ads. Very, very cool stuff, Mel. Now, I just want to take us back to that chat function. I've got a bit of a question there. Just as I'm thinking through that question, for everyone watching, if you haven't popped your questions in yet, now is the time to pop all your questions into the Q&A chat function, because we are going to be going into a bit of a Q&A where Liz will be leading and facilitating that conversation with Mel. So, Mel, before I toss over, that chat function right there, is it safe to say that it's a bit of a doubt clearing exercise? That if they had any questions about, getting them across the line, getting them across the fence that they may be standing at, like, oh, don't have full clarity, they could pop their questions in there. Is that the modus operandi of this one?
Absolutely. I mean, if you were having a coffee and that someone was having a question for you, they could ask it immediately, and you're trying to recreate that scene by giving that live chat going, oh, I can ask any doubts I've got or any questions I've got. And that chat function is fully automated it's an AI-driven chat function, which actually tries to respond and is designed to actually try and capture the email. So as soon as they've said, what's this question? It's like, yep, this is the answer. Can I grab your email and send you more details about this? That's how it's designed to get the second touch point.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mel, for clarifying that one. There was so much value that was power-packed into what you just shared with us. So on that note, I'm going to throw it over to my colleague Liz to facilitate the Q&A. I'm sure everyone's really excited to get right into that piece and have their questions answered. Over to you, Liz.
Thanks, Natasha. And thank you so much, Mel. There was so much great information in that presentation. I'm surprised there are any questions, but we have quite a few actually. We've got quite a few questions to get through. So thank you everyone for sending your questions in, and keep sending them in. I'll kick off with this one. So the great thing about digital is that it's international. It's all around the world, and all of these platforms that you're talking about are international. Are we finding that international consumers, prefer one channel compared to others, or is there a difference in how you might market internationally?
Absolutely, there is a difference in the uptake of the platform. So what you need to know is if your market is Asia, so if you are focused on the Indian, Vietnam or Pakistan or Bangladesh, there's a huge population there. As you know, 1/3 of the population of the world is there. The uptake there is really on Facebook. They have not moved to Instagram, they've not moved to LinkedIn. So for those demographic or for those kind of international markets, Asia, it's really Facebook still. And if you think about Australia as well, we also started our journey in Facebook, and we've now evolved into adopting Instagram, adopting LinkedIn, and now probably TikTok will be the next platform that we'll be adopting. So the movement and the journey is actually the same for every country, but they didn't adopt Facebook until almost 5 years after us. So they're still on the Facebook journey.
Wow, I had no idea it was so different. That's really quite insightful. That's amazing. Thank you. We actually have a lot of startups, I think, on the seminar today. So I have a few questions from the startups. The first one is around how much should I be spending in my first year of business on marketing in actually on these platforms? And also, when I haven't any customers yet, what sort of content is best that I should be maybe posting on Facebook?
Okay, so I'll break the first question. I'll take it as two different questions because they're totally different. So maybe you'll pose the second one to me again. But the first one is like, how much should I spend on marketing? And that really depends at a startup level, because you're not generating revenue. It's just like, how much can you spend, you know? So if you're not making money, it's just like you just have the budget, what you do. I always say, if you can at least, you know, start with like $500 to start doing some split testing, but you're really going to see value as you can continue to spend more, and consistently is the major thing. It's not about spending. I see so many people doing like 2 days, you know, and they spend $100 and like, I didn't get anything. So it's about actually setting a budget and staying consistent to that from 6 to 8 months, and going for a platform quite, you know, being consistent about it, because that's the biggest thing that people don't do, is they just do 2 days and then they lose interest and nothing happens. So I always say, even if you can at least start with, you know, $500-600 of budget, and try to work that up as you see returns from a particular platform, and stay consistent. Your second what was your second question again? I'll get you to.
It was around when they're starting a business and they have a few customers, what sort of content would you be aiming at to win new customers?
Okay, content is king. I can't express that enough. And the best way to know what kind of content is by keywords. So what are the keywords that people are searching for on Google? And that's how you know, or you look and research your competitors, what kind of content they're doing and what kind of engagement they're getting on that content. And you research the market, and then you invest into your content plan. So copy and do it better. That's the strategy. So what kind of content your competitors will speak for you. There's lots of different ways you can find out as well what content is delivering the most value for your competitors. So I use lots of tools. Reach out to me if you want to know what those are. But working in with an agency that can help you identify those opportunities can be enormous, because there's lots of tools that give you those analytics, but they are paid tools.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And also on content and retargeting, how should you use retargeting when people have been to your website and left? How do you use retargeting?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I use retargeting for my business and other businesses is I look at, so as soon as someone lands on a particular page on your website, they leave an imprint on your website, and it allows you to now retarget. So if someone on my website landed on the Facebook ad page and they were interested in that, what happens is I let them actually go and see an ad based on how I've delivered value or a success story on Facebook ad in Facebook. So what you need to be thinking about is retargeting based on what the user actually landed on which page they landed on, and then showing them something really of that specific kind of service on your Facebook. So what I mean is, like, think about all the pages you have and try and retarget based on a page that the user landed on, and show them something relevant to that page. Not like, you know, just don't have just one retargeting ad that they landed on your homepage and they're always going to see the same thing. That doesn't really work.
Okay.
So
Right.
like for Airbnb, for example, I'll give this example. Like if you go and looked at Italy and a house in Italy, you'll keep seeing lots of carousel ads based on Italian houses. It's not going to be showing you, here are all the houses around the world.
Okay. So be really, really specific. And is that about creating more touch points? Because another question is around how do we create those touch points without coming across as pushy or putting potential clients off?
Yes, and that's about your creative and how you approach your voice and sort of like how you put that ad to them. Don't try and be like, buy this. Try and be like smart about it. So sometimes people do retargeting ads like, so you're still thinking about Italy, think some more. And then you see all these like kind of Italian houses. So you're being followed and it's not too creepy because you kind of laugh at it. Or like I've seen retargeting ads like left something behind. And because they pressed on add to cart, but then they didn't check it out. And, they ask that question and you go, it's funny. It's not like too, forceful. So I think doing creative in a really creative way can really help you sell and put a smile on the potential buyer's face.
Brilliant. Going back to the AMRC example, so that was for it's kind of like high ticket items, if you like, 2,000 to 3,500. Well, how much would you invest for, say, a $200 item? How would you do that? And I guess that's a general question around what budget should we have for both short and long, campaigns?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when it's like a lower ticket item, it's a lot more, that's much more harder because it's, you've got to get the ads for cheaper. So you really focus on trying to get really low cost per click. So the creative becomes so important over there, and making sure that your creative's so nice because you can't afford to like lose anything. So using video type ads, so putting more effort into creatives will actually reduce your costs per click. Being more smart in delivering a lot more like carousel ads or retargeting ads, that's when it really comes in, because you can't really do the same kind of ad spend for a $200 product than not. But yeah, with the $200 product, you have to have really strong creatives.
Okay. Is there kind of like a rule of thumb for budgeting? Is it like a % of revenue or anything like that?
I always say at least 6% of your
Okay.
should go into digital marketing, and that's from a creative point of view and from an ad spend point of view. That's a minimum. High growth companies spending about 25% to 30% on marketing,
Wow.
digital marketing right now.
Yeah.
So they're in high growth. They want to spend and they want to grow quick. So that's the kind of levels that you're seeing for really high growth companies that are on a trajectory like this.
Yeah. What about when we have a question with the high value closers? How much time do they need? Do they need to be trained? What sort of % are they getting?
Yeah, so with the high ticket closers, basically they need like scripts that they're working with you, but they're very like well trained. They've already been trained by some of the best in sales, so that's why they're high ticket. They're looking at about 15 to 20% commish, and they only work with products probably above 1,000.
Yeah.
Thing for it to be worthwhile for them.
Yeah. Okay.
And most agencies won't have high ticket closers working in with them. That's something that we offer because we want to close the full gap. So that's what I guess most agencies just care about one stage. They won't create those multiple touch points that is so vital because they don't care about conversion. They just say, oh, we got you all the 150 attendees, we're done. But yeah, so it's a very unique niche that we're trying to focus on. And I think it's a huge amount of value if you can do it right.
Absolutely, and as Natasha said, it was about closing that gap and doing the full, the full circle.
Exactly.
Which is fabulous. We have a few questions around measures. So someone has asked how you know that there are 1,000 searches for your long tail on Google.
Yeah, and so there's something called Google Keyword Planner that you can get for free that you can find out. I use software, but paid software to get those kind of data. Ahrefs, SEMrush, they're the ones that I use. So most agencies, they subscribe to these software to get what is the search result on what keyword, so they can actually add value to their clients. But yeah, there's a free one that you can look up. It's not as good in statistics as SEMrush and Ahrefs, but Google Keyword Planner.
Okay, great. And that's just easy to access on your Google.
Yeah, you can just search Google Keyword Planner,
Okay.
and that will come up.
Wonderful. And what's the best measure, if you like, for online marketing for each platform? So if you're marketing in Facebook versus Instagram versus Google, LinkedIn, what are the best measures?
Honestly, for me, I'm such a conversion, like it's all about conversions. So a lot of people go and look at engagements and be like, oh my God, I got like 1,000 likes or 1,000 engagements. Like engagements mean not a lot if it's actually not going to convert to sales. So I'll give you an example, like on LinkedIn, some of my posts that I do about my personal journey, it might get over 200,000-300,000 organic reach and 5,000 likes, and you think top of the world, I must be doing something so great. But that was a personal journey I shared, and that doesn't lead to any kind of sale. But when I posted about how to create a Facebook ad, for example, and that only got me like 200 likes, but then I had 10 leads coming through and 2 closes of that lead. That's more valuable for me and my business. But I think branding together with the conversion, so you're looking at both, but for me, conversion is the game that you're trying to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're looking at the types of content you can create, people have been talking about video versus podcasts versus images. Is it best to do a mix, or is it, is one better than another?
I think you should split test everything and see what's delivering you the most value. So I split test videos against images, against podcast, not so much going to get you great in ads, but that might get you organic reach in podcast or Spotify. But I think you should definitely split test to be sure, because sometimes it can be either or. Videos do really well in Facebook, but obviously in Google you can't really use a video, so it's like more text based and what your creatives are. But split test, I always say both, and put in the exact same amount of money into both, and then see what does the best.
Okay, and what about things like hashtags in Facebook and Instagram? Do they build awareness? How important are they?
Instagram hashtags are really important. On Facebook, hashtags is not a thing, so they don't really do too much as yet. Whether they would do something in the future, don't know. But yes, people, as you know, on Instagram search for hashtags and follow hashtags. So huge amounts of value in hashtags and understanding hashtag strategy in Instagram. Again, LinkedIn, not so much yet. It's not a hashtag game as yet. It's not doing anything to let people follow hashtags and not serving content even if you are following hashtags. So it really depends which platform you are, and if you're Instagram invested in Instagram, yes, hashtags are a real thing and you need to understand the hashtags really well.
Brilliant. I think we're running out of time for questions now, but that has been amazing. You've covered off so much more than you even did in your presentation. So thank you so much again, Mel, and I might hand over to Natasha for some final words.
Thank you.
Fantastic. I was listening to that Q&A session, and right from ad spend to for retargeting and high ticket closes and commissions, the measurements using Google Keyword Planner and converting leads to sales. What a load of value you have shared, Mellonie, and a big thanks to Liz for facilitating that amazing Q&A. That was fantastic. Just wanted to say a big thank you to you, Mellonie, for really coming on and sharing your time, being so generous with your insights, and of course, being available as well for people to contact you after this. So Mel, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, look, I'm going to give you all a summary screen of my final thoughts. So summary is this: create a primary lead generation tactic, invest into either Google or Facebook or whatever it is, but really remember that you need to be really focused on creating that second touch point and third touch point and fourth touch point. Try and get that email, and that's going to let you create multiple other touch points. That's the biggest takeaway, is multiple touch points is what it's about, and focus on what the next touch point is. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to get in touch with myself. I'm sure my details will be shared anyway, but you can look me up on LinkedIn, add me, ask me. I'm happy to help every other sort of business owner out there that I can.
Fantastic, Mel. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate you coming on board again and joining us. And a big thank you to everyone as well who tuned in and participated. Thank you so much for your amazing questions. We really hope that you found it insightful and beneficial to your business. Now, this is again a clarification that yes, we will send out a copy of the presentation that you saw today, a link as well to share your feedback about today's topic and future topics. We really want to be able to give you future topics like this based on your business need. And of course, Mel's contact details will also be there for you to be able to access. Now, we're also looking to have a copy of the replay recording reach your inbox as well in the coming days. So don't forget to stay tuned to our newsletter. And if you are not subscribed to it yet, we've got you covered 100%. That link will be out to you as well in that follow-up email, because that's where you will be able to get all the latest events and the updates. Thanks so much again for joining us today. We hope that you have a great day, everyone. Take care and stay safe.